You are listening to the Firecracker Podcast with Tony Rico.
Well. Was that just me, or is that another second or two of standing ovation? I was just like, I appreciate that.
They didn't want to stop.
It's not that typical, you're stupid. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to, right now it's just me and Coach Ben sitting down, and I think we're going to do a little Colorado recap, right? Kind of what's, we hit the road, and I think I hit the road, and then I hear about what you're doing. You really hit the road, so that's ridiculous.
13 days, second year in a row, so you know what? It felt good.
How many Colorados for you?
This was my 14th. The only year I missed Colorado was COVID, and then 2021 when I got sick.
How many Colorados do you think it takes before you kind of really figure it out?
Oh, geez, do you ever figure it out? I said,
sure.
I would say, I had coached in the Firecracker organization for 5 years, and then in 2015 is when we won Fireworks 18 Open.
Mm-hmm.
So it took, I guess it takes.
So here's a specific question, and I guess my fault, but not so much competitively. Let's say, for example, leaving the hotel. So I want to relate this to anybody that might have been in Colorado, right? You leave the hotel in the morning and it's nice and sunny. So you're in shorts and a t-shirt. And if you're not the most experienced, you might only pack a shorts and a t-shirt and a light jacket. And then you have 4 games, and then there's pretty much half a tornado blowing through in the last game of the night. And then you see the people in shorts and t-shirts freezing their fandangos off because Colorado weather is something that takes you a while to get used to. Okay, so there's one example.
And that was me the first probably 3 years. Didn't understand the thunderstorms.
Yeah.
And that was also, we were also coaching and running 4 Adorabo stands. So
shout out Adorabo.
Yeah.
We have to pay for that plug.
We'd lose 4 easy ups a week, and yep.
So you're the Adorabo man.
I am the Adorabo.
Now, if somebody doesn't know that, they just thought I called you adorable. So hey, whoa, Adorabo. So Dora is the brains of his operation.
She is.
Yes, as the women are of Firecrackers.
Definitely my better half.
What else are Colorado challenges that if you're not prepared for, you may learn? Anything come to mind? I've always got them lined up in my head.
Well, I know the first couple of years we stayed in the team hotel. We tried to get all the girls to stay at the hotel. There were invariably some families who couldn't afford it, so they would get a VRBO together.
Okay.
I think that's when we have some of the problems or challenges arise.
So financially preparing for Colorado.
Yeah,
right, ahead of time. Because as a team, do you remember the days where you had to send your even your entry fee in it's a year ahead of time?
Oh.
So you start your new
least.
team, you're like, dude, I got to spend $2,500 already into September. Well, if you want your spot, you do.
No, absolutely, and I think that talks to about you with relationships. When I started to meet Krista and Elliot and these people, and they would say, Ben, get it in. We're telling you now, because it's going to fill up.
Right.
And like I said, I had never been there.
Was your first Colorado experience with Triple Crown or with the previous owner? Or was it Triple Crown your first time there?
Yeah,
okay.
no, I think it was with Dave and the group he's got now.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, my first foray with Triple Crown was with Travis locally, and that's
right. But as far as Colorado,
But as far as Colorado,
right.
yeah, no. I think I've always been when it was under the same manager.
Craig Brooks and his crew ran it for quite a few years, and then I know that Triple Crown acquired it. So,
yeah.
But again, it's been a staple of softball, which I think is again relevant and relatable, and why we just kind of touch upon the dynamics and of the tournament. So I think one of the most glaring surprises, if you're not ready for it, is that the ball travels 3 feet farther for every 1,000 feet of elevation. All right, so here's your trivia question for all of you out there. How many feet in a mile? And why is that relevant? Because we're in Denver, the Denver area, so we're in the Mile High City. Now, I asked you that because I wonder what the first number in your head, and for those of you that came out with it, geniuses, right? But when I ask our teams that, I give everything from how many feet in the mile, 100,000.
Yeah.
I think that takes us to the moon, or 200. It's interesting, but relevant because it's 15 feet of carry for every fly ball.
Yep.
The fences are already at 200 feet. The ball's traveling 15 feet farther. So basically, we're playing with 185-foot fences. So you see a lot of singles and home runs. You don't see a lot of doubles. Yep. And I think that there's a market for calming remedies for pitchers and pitchers' parents.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I call it Colorado muscles.
Colorado muscles.
Because last year, same thing, and this year even more. I think your select team just
well, we can go into the hitting part of it. I think my compassion is for those that again the elements expose people that might not prepare, and the air and the dynamic for pitchers is just so different. So if you're not on your A game,
Yep.
there, and even if you are, you're basically going in. If you're experienced, you're going in knowing that you need to minimize damage, because also it's just like a high wind. Fires get big fast in Colorado, and so where you might normally give a pitcher 2 runs, that's very quickly 5 runs. And if you want to give her 4 runs, that very quickly is 7 runs. And so there's a lot of catch up. So there's a dynamic to even the competitive part of it. So it's not uncommon, depending on the caliber, or it's not even talent of a team, but the way that the pitching staff is executing, you may go through a lot of switches really, really fast if you're trying to minimize damage and then get through championship play, because that ball is just flying.
I think the teams that were successful last week gave up the single run, 1-run homers, and not the 3-run homers. That's the key. If you're going to walk kids, if you're going to hit kids, and then you give up the jack, that's when it's going to all unravel.
So I guess the advice or counsel to future families heading to Colorado is you need to command your mind. You need to command your pitches. Because if you want to know what kills, is a lack of command of your pitches and a lack of command of your mind. Because then you are exposed in the wrong way. And a lot of times that's learning curve. Yep. So again, our players heard me say this a few times. We always want you to play your worst with us before you're playing at that level where they're actually paying you to play and perform. So a couple of Colorado dynamics. It was a fun couple of weeks. I mentioned that not every team every year gets a return, but I believe that our team, and not to use them as an example to people of what everyone's working on. We got some returns. We had a couple of good finishes. We played some great competition, but it was great to see what we call the system kind of unveil itself again.
Yep.
And so I would say passing on experiences, sharing experiences, never trying to tell somebody what they need to do, but just take our testimony, I guess you might say, and compare it to yours. So go back to your muscle. It was pretty impressive. We've never had a team perform that way offensively before. I asked Krista Crawford, not first and last name, but Krista, director of Triple Crown Colorado and many of their national events, and one of the best people in the world. I asked her, is just me or the ball flying a little more this year? She goes, the ball's flying a little bit more this year. So that was an interesting dynamic, but our team, I think, had doubled their home run output compared to any other year. And I mean just for the call it the fireworks weekend, because the Patriot Games was something else. And that was a front end. That was a fun event too, the Patriot Games. So Scott Smith, Bombers, kind of collaborates. Dave McCorkle does a great job, very organized, a lot of good structure, great idea. Second year of this concept. It's going to change format, I believe, next year. But again, metric testing, high-level competition, gauge your kids. Summer's about getting your team on the road at the beginning, and it may look like a mess like pretty much our team did at the beginning. And then there's just something about Colorado that creates a rhythm for so many teams. So, and again, I put this out there because a lot of people, especially with the cost, hey, do we need to go? No, you don't need to go. You don't have to. But I still think that there's a lot of benefit to it. I evaluate everything, and I'm especially evaluating the 2 weeks on the road right now. But also that grind is important to prepare us for that last week of multiple double elimination brackets if we get through them.
Yep.
So it's not going to be an easy week in Indiana. So.
I think this week, Cap, was definitely a team building for your select team.
Yeah.
You could just see as the days got on, and by the time you got to that Mercado game on Saturday night, oh my God, it just all came together.
Yeah.
You could the girls were talking to each other before the pitch. The outfielders were talking. I'd never seen that
Systematic,
good of
right.
communication the whole week.
Right. And that's again to see them engage in the way that we train to play the game versus hey, we have to do this, we have to get that done. So Ben, I see a 4% on there. Should I be concerned about that 4%?
No, it was on 0. It's plugged in.
With me, why worry? All right, okay. And I think I'll lead into before we go into whatever highlights you may be throwing up to kind of see how this rolls out. But I just love the fact for all of you that are going after the big guns and everything else, and we've got a few big guns. We're fortunate, but there were quite a few games where our shortest players, arguably 5'2", were our best players, and our slowest pitcher. And I say that sounds like I'm degrading her or something, but our pitcher that doesn't have the speed our other pitchers do was absolutely our most valuable pitcher of the tournament. A 1.75 ERA in Colorado is like a .009. I think I'm just going to throw that out there, but just ridiculous what Lola McNamara did.
Well,
And
I'll be honest with you, when I saw her in the fall, she has the most unbelievable backdoor curveball that right-handers give up on. And she just, in Colorado, she just used it to her advantage.
And without disclosing too much, I'm going to say yes, but it was actually utilizing the entire plate and exposing an area of the plate that a lot of teams aren't used to. And so, I'm always kind of be smart. Somebody making notes on stuff, and because we still got a couple of months. But actually, Ben, it could be the opposite of what she learned how to do. A lot of times, players without speed or the speed others think they need, don't like to live on certain halves of the plate. But I think that Coach Lon did an amazing job. Sean did an amazing job of coaching the team. It was really, really fun to watch. I think for the most part, we were able to keep the game slow, especially as these continuous pressure games and situations came up. But yeah, it was a good time. So I hope everyone out there had a good time. And most of all, went out and saw something else besides softball. So usually everyone gets a day off. So go see Pikes Peak or up in Estes Park or river rafting or roller coasting. There's all kinds of stuff to do up there. So, Colorado is an experience.
I think that's a huge component in being successful in Colorado is you have to give them a day or something where they can just decompress.
Well, in 10 years, or let's just say even your daughter, Jessica, how many scores of your games is she going to remember? She's going to remember that you guys won. She's going to remember maybe that last game. But whatever you guys did, she still remembers that, right? And those are the opportunities that I think people should take when they are on the road like that in special places. So,
well, I think I usually tried to take them to a museum. We're politically connected, so I took them to the state capitol one year.
Sounds like fun.
The one year we won it in Colorado, the girls went river rafting. And I'm like, oh, this is going to kill us.
Hey, who wants to go see the state capitol or river rafting? Okay, I swear to God, if there's 7 of you want to go to the state capitol, I guess I should get your name and number. So you're going to be, I'm going to need you someday when you're in office. God dang. All right.
You know how the Pascos roll.
Yes, I do. You should have taken them in the back to see the boys. All right, let's talk about some players that stood out. And again, what about me? We had a pretty balanced team, but I think that everyone on our team would agree that there were a couple of players in particular that just had ridiculous weeks. And again, it's more acknowledgement of patience, I'm going to say, in one case, and then application in another's case. So who am I thinking of?
One of my MVPs this week would have been Mia.
Mia Gomez. Can we get the applause on her? Mia Gomez. Go, Mia.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. As she's taking her elbow guard off, running around the bases. I asked her, so what is that? What is that? You hit a home run and you take the elbow guard off, running back. She goes, my batting coach told me that he had me wearing an elbow guard when I was young. Said, I'm going to need that because they're going to throw at me. I said, oh, that's right. You go to a baseball guy. I like it. So she's got that little thing, but Is there anybody nicer in the game than Mia? And as far as more loving, conscientious, I don't know. You know, Mia Gomez is one of these players that you get a text, and a lot of times it's a question from a player or maybe a problem. Mia's text will say like, "Coach, just checking on you. You doing okay?
Yeah.
Everything good? You having a good day? Hey, just want to wish you a." And it's like, what the heck? You would think she's 20 years older than
And
us.
she's always coming up to me, giving me a hug. You feel good, Coach Ben? You good? I said, I'm fantastic, Mia. How about you? And that she is fantastic like that. She's a nice young lady, but when you watch her at the plate, she's up there with bad intentions. And when she gets hit and she rips that thing off and looks at you and looks at the pitcher and looks at their teammates, it's just like,
So learning how to present herself, and
Yep.
because the reality is when you engage in this high level competition, what you project also can affect who you're competing against. So batter versus pitcher, pitcher versus batter, team versus team, coach versus coach, different things like that. So it's fun to watch her. But she had a standout a couple of weeks. Again, I always try to say or try to look at it like, was she a strong hitter? And is she a power hitter running into balls, or was she hitting? And I think I'm always most proud of when they're up there, and it's the pitch to pitch stuff. It's the way she's taking her pitches. It's the pitches that she's swinging at, which again, good pitch selection, adjustments pitch to pitch, not expanding your zone gives you the walks,
Yep.
right? Gives you the takes.
Oh, great eye at the plate.
Power hitters that want to go up there and hit with power, but they expand their strike zone. They're easier to pitch to. And so just absolutely amazing. And she's got an exciting week this week. And so we're going to see what happens with her. But yeah, Mia to me definitely is the MVP of the tournament if we gave one. And then on the pitching side, we just talked about her.
yep, Lolo. Yeah, absolutely.
Unbelievable. And this is probably the biggest takeaway that, especially for, and it's not just pitchers' families out there, when you play the game the right way, and you know how to play the game the right way, which we have some recipes out there that are available in case you haven't found them yet as being Firecracker, and you can trust your training. This is the greatest sport in the world to play because it's not dependent on your size or anything. Not your. I mean, sometimes I watch Lola walk around the circle. I wonder if her feet hurt or just like it's just the way she carries herself. But she's so engaging. I think one of the things that I love the most about her is before she takes the field, if it's her and Kennedy or whoever, Kennedy's catching, the way she smiles, she looks at her catcher in the dugout, she smiles like, let's just go have fun, like they're going out to recess, and then she just goes and deals. So I don't know exactly what her speed is. The only reason that it's relevant is because it's not the speed that most pitchers are looking for, and I think a lot of pitchers at her age think that they're less than because they don't throw a certain speed. She absolutely ate up hitters, and we were talking in the media meeting on Monday that you froze on, that there's probably 100 clips that we could go over. So something that we're going to work into these discussions is pulling up some highlights. You're able to clip things from our broadcast. You and SMN is just it's coming along so nicely. There's so many good things to take away. And when I'm critiquing you, not criticizing you, just making sure that things are moving forward in a really good way, because I'm really proud of all the and now I have to say road equity now with what you're doing to help capture these shots. So what do you have? And let's see what you can pull up, and then we'll just kind of take a look at it, and
We're going to pull
I'll
up
give you
this.
my opinion.
This is the first one. This was in Windsor.
Okay, so
And let me do this. I'm going to pull up the full screen there so everyone
excellent.
can see it.
So I would say watch the catcher's glove. So watch the catcher's glove when she catches it. And so this is an expanded strike zone. Now, obviously, there's 2 strikes on her. So go ahead and pause it for me real quick.
Okay.
And that's okay. If you can pause it when Amaya is set up, so let it run one more time. And then when she sets up her target, because she's not really showing it in the strike zone, go ahead and stop it.
Yeah. It's not going to let me.
It's not going to let you stop it. Gosh, damn it. All right, so watching where the catcher is catching the glove, so that's Amaya there. The takeaway is, well, why throw them a strike if they'll swing at balls? So this happens to be a strike 3.
On a full count.
Right? But expanding the strike zone. living below the batter's knees. Go ahead and let it keep playing. Living below the batter's knees. Okay, the space between the catcher's knees and the ground. So that lower space. For those of you that have daughters, or those of you players that might be listening to this that don't throw as hard as you would like to, but you have downspin, you work on drop curves, you have drops. The up-down game is so ridiculously effective. Go ahead and go to another clip of there. And it really doesn't matter because there's so many.
This is a check swing in the last game of the weekend.
Okay.
So we'll go back to this.
Now again, this team was high-powered offense, scoring, I'm going to say, at least 9-10 runs per game. And as you let it play again, watch the catcher's gloves. So many times we go to the hitter, look at where she's living, and this was continuous. Both halves of the plate, both speeds on both halves of the plate. For those you batting coaches out there, how often do you work on both halves and both speeds on both halves with your hitters, right?
Yep.
And so just absolutely amazing what this young lady did, and with consistency.
Yeah.
Looks like she's almost ready to fall over. So.
Well, she plays to her strengths. She doesn't try to overpower hitters. She works both sides of the plate, and she's just a bulldog.
And if this ball that
never
you
gives
see,
in.
which again, or is that Kennedy? I'm not sure. I think it's Ken. If she catches that at her knees or above, so same pitch, same break, but it ends up at the knees, these balls are home runs. In fact, I'm going to dare to venture that the ball that did carry out for the almost amazing play that Stevie sacrificed her shoulder on, or arm, was a knee-high ball that they were able to golf under, because they were kind of trying to lift the ball with some golf swings. Go ahead and hit another clip. Just if you know where it's going, we know how they're going to hit it, and we can create a certain contact. If we don't know where the ball is going, you need to have something so special that it can move on its own. And bottom line is, are you winning with it? Are you dealing with it? Is the look in the batter's eyes like, oh, this is something I can't handle? We're always going for that outcome first, right? And that what was interesting with Lola is that there were so many batters, Ben, especially, Epic has a great team and big hitters. But it was like the looks on some of their hitters' faces after they would take a pitch was like, what the heck was this? And between either what the umpire was calling. Okay, so we got a lefty here.
She's going to reach. Right.
Ooh, so I'll be honest with you there. That ball was hit hard. Let it run. So that ball easily could have been a double down the line, or a 3-4 hole hit. But let's see where the glove is. Just a little higher.
Yep.
So again,
One
if
ball
she's
higher.
throwing 64 in that spot with heavy downspin and a heavy ball, she can get away with that. But again, she doesn't throw that. So her margin for error is so small. So that was actually what we call an atom ball, because they hit it right at him. And that was a good play by Mia right there. Getting players to hit into a defense, right? So any coaches out there trying to create a certain contact, what are you trying to do with your pitch calling? Are you pitching to contact, pitching for strikeouts, situational? You should always be aware of what it is that you're attacking, the situation that you're working with, and strategically what your intentions are. And there's nothing wrong with getting a strikeout if you're pitching a contact, or the other way around, as long as you're getting outs, right? Making out. So again, systematic pitching and defense. Pitching, command your pitches. Adjustments, pitch to pitch. Defense, play catch and communicate. When you communicate, make sure it's loud and early. Pop-ups, right? Infielders need to go after everything hard until outfielders call them off. So outfielders, right? You can't wait to the last second to call off that little blooper between short and left field, because now that shortstop stops and you stop, and then that ball drops in there for a 2-out base hit with a runner on third base. And so I think most of you can kind of picture what it is I just mentioned. Give you a second here to see what else we had. Really, really good week for the whole team, really across the board. Unless you were primarily a slapper, I think everybody on our team had a home run.
Well, I think in one game at one point you hit 5 in a row.
Yeah, so that was one of those games we got to let the fire get a little big too fast, and it was a really good Oklahoma athletics team. And again, I I wish I knew. I'm so bad with names, but their two particular coaches, Oklahoma Athletics, went out of their way to take care of our kids on a couple of injuries. Both guys were paramedics. So Kennedy, the game against them where they beat us, and they were just so respectful, so professional, and put the kids first. And then the last day when Stevie jumped over the fence, those guys were on another field and saw that happen, and they both came over.
Yeah.
So, we had, not only did Triple Crown do a good job at the complex of having a trainer there, but we had coaches that were very caring, paramedics, and just really added that extra piece of just giving you that your kids were in the right hands, right? So just amazing guys, and really
I think
thankful.
that's what makes this tournament something special. I mean, when that happened to Stevie, there were two trainers in a cart out to center field within minutes, saying, "What do you need?"
And it's worth noting because, again, we tend to talk about the things that aren't there, right? But little things like that. So, and I'm sure with all the fields across Colorado, someone's going, "Well, there is nothing at our field. No snack bar, no trainer, no water, no this." I know it.
Yep.
So
No, that's it.
I'm going to wrap this up with a little topic. And again, just if you know us, and I really appreciate the feedback that I get from people when I'm out on the road. So whether you're sending me a text or a note on social media, or just seeing us out there and just telling us that you enjoy the stuff that we're putting out there, remember that the advice and the things that we and I pass on, I hope you understand is for you. It's not for anything else. And I don't believe in that you inspire people to change by telling people what they're doing wrong. So I'm going to talk about something that takes a place on the road quite often. And it kind of gets back into ultimately what it is that we're trying to do with the Firecrackers for everyone in our program, and that is provide training. Okay, that if you have training, you know what to do in situations. And so the training that I'm going to give every well-intended, loving parent is how to handle your daughter in the hotel room. Okay, if you guys only knew that Colorado can be an absolute terror for players that don't have to have the same bedroom with their parents in so many cases. I wouldn't address it and talk about it if it's not something that's there, but it can be something that's extremely difficult and challenging, and let's say at times a good test for kids to rely on their training. But I just ask everyone to reflect on if you've been fortunate enough to be raised a certain way, and not everyone is, but if you have, then you have no excuse for not managing yourself emotionally, except for the fact that there's a lack of boundaries and you get to do whatever you want behind closed doors. I get that, all right? You don't have that, then maybe you have training from your job, okay? It's always interesting when I talk to someone in law enforcement. And in law enforcement, you have a sense, you read the room, you can sense, you can smell things. And then you become a pitcher's dad when softball hits. And then you decide to go say and do things that you would never do as a law enforcement officer because you know what would happen. And so I want everyone to understand that when you're on the road, right, and just remove yourself for a second and just go up above and imagine yourself in your kid's position. Or if we gave you the ball, or you gave me the ball, realistically, what could you guarantee me when you hit, when you pitch, when you play this game? And so if you don't have training, there's going to be an expectation of a situation like when we're watching a Dodger game. I want you to win. I want you to hit a home run. And I don't give a crap about Ohtani's self-esteem because I'm an immature, I'm an emotional, passionate sports fan. The immature is more for coaching. It doesn't have to be that way. Okay. A lot of it's because you love your daughter so much that it hurts. And then there it is. When you don't have any training, it's understandable and explainable. Then all you have is your emotions and your reactions. So if your fire is hot, you're going to get heated. And that's too often the case. So the training is put yourself in her position and how do you want her to receive your information? Now, boundaries of behavior and conduct are very important. So your kids should never be allowed to disrespect or act out in a certain way. And sometimes you have to ask, well, where did they get that? Maybe it's something they're learning at home or just unmanaged, or maybe you're a more patient parent, right? But it doesn't make it right that your kid's talking to you a certain way. But it's just something that I think that everyone has an opportunity, because I don't like to get dark and deep, but we've dealt with 2 suicides in this organization. So if your daughter, all of a sudden, you get a call from your coach or from a counselor at school and says that your daughter's admitted to us that she's contemplated suicide as an exit strategy because she can't do this anymore. Okay, if you've done your homework, people that commit suicide don't want to die. They just can't do this anymore. How would we all feel when we find out that our daughters have contemplated that exit strategy? In fact, I'm going to get a little deeper. Sometimes people with depression, and before they actually kill themselves, have a sense of peace right before it happens. And it's like, well, wow, they seemed really happy right before. It's because they knew they were going to do it, and they knew that they were finally going to get out of this. All right, so if that's in 2 outs at the bottom of the ninth, and I'm gonna end myself to get out of this. What about the top of the first? What about the bottom of the fourth? What about all this layer in between from the time a child is born to a time that somebody makes a decision? Because even the ages of suicide right now are ridiculously young. It's not 15 and 16, that's the youngest ages. It's actually younger than that. And so, and the reason I say that, because I'm just going to use this word, I as a parent would be scared shitless if that reality took place. Now, I actually have some tools now because we've dealt with it, but it doesn't make my emotions any less. It would worry me to death. I don't know. We would do anything to reverse that. So then why not do it now? Why wait until it's 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth or 2 outs in the bottom of the seventh with 2 strikes and it's too late to reverse the process, right? The hotel room and the criticism and the reacting to things is not an excuse when you have training. Okay, we tell our players in a professional mindset, not as a human, think it, feel it, don't say it or show it, right? And I would suggest to you coaches and parents to always think about how what you're saying is registering to people. And don't be afraid to reach out if you don't feel like you have, you can't use a tool if you don't have it. You can't use it, you don't have it. So reach out to, again, there's so much stuff that we put online as far as how to properly support. You can be passionate, you can engage, but you have to know where the line is of when you touch your daughter's heart and it's sad. And ultimately, no matter what it goes into it, she feels like she's the ultimate disappointment. And so, there's so many good things in Colorado. There's so many good things on the road, but just think about it. The hotel room, well, one room space with one person in there that's creating an energy for one other person or everyone else in that room. I myself would want to hide in the closet and say, just please leave me alone and just let me hide here. Just leave me alone. And it shouldn't be about that. So this is kind of a PSA for emotional wellness, I guess you would say, because, it doesn't have to be this way. And what I'm proud of is that you could watch us lose or win, and you're never going to see an experience being created where it's life or death through competition. And the worry of recruiting, for all of you that have been through recruiting, this is what I'm going to leave you with now. Your you know where your daughter's going to school, then we'll do another thing on the portal, because just because you've been recruiting, you're going to school, doesn't mean that you're a lock now for everything. Anything can change at any time. But for the worry and the scorekeeping and the comparisons that take place before a kid knows where she's going to go to school, and the anxiety that takes place within that family, and then all of a sudden things happen and it falls in place. And I, so many people will probably tell me, Tony, I get so tired of you just saying trust the system, trust the system. I don't want to trust the fucking system. She's at the end of her junior year and she's still not committed. Okay, I understand that. We want us to change the system because you feel that way, because you're it's normal, right? And then those of you that now your daughters have committed, or you're there, right? Or college parents, what would you say to the 14 and under families right now that are keeping score? How come we didn't get in that? Oh, her stats were wrong on Game Changer, and you're ready to pretty much execute the coach or the scorekeeper. How dare you? And then they did it on purpose. I ain't even going to go into all that craziness, right? To thine own self be true. Okay. Love and respect are the two most powerful ingredients that you can apply in softball. Maintain them as best you can. Maintain respect in your relationships. Win with integrity and respect and humility. Lose with dignity. Never sacrifice your beauty. Never sacrifice the life experience you have as an older person when you have a younger person in your company. So as a coach or a parent, and then maybe we can get this sport to where most of the girls are playing to their potential when they should be playing to their potential, instead of like this uphill, pushing the boulder uphill, and then little pockets of fresh air. But in the end, when they look back on their career, is it going to be like, yeah, that was a great ride? Or man, that was just like arrows coming at me all the time and I happened to survive it. They're surviving and they're thriving. And so, you know, I come in here and we turn this mic on and Ben and I will have a little conversation. I'm just going to talk out of my ass to you, but it's really from my heart, then from my ass, and then out my mouth. I don't know how that exactly works or something like that. But I'm telling you, I love your kids. I don't know your kids. I love all of you. I want you to have a good experience. So think about it, gosh damn it. And say to yourself, just like I did when I was 18 and Coach Horton made me draw a line, keep the poise. Just keep it. And then you can talk about things and experience things together. In the end, it's a better way to go about your business. Win or lose, right? Recruited or not recruited yet. It's just a better way to live. So that's it. Hit it. Oh, my goodness. It's like everybody left. Is there anything with 1,000 people?